Welcome to Scramble Game Show. Our show is a community education show. We always have opportunity to invite guests to our show as part of a program. We haven't done this for a long time, but now we are in the midst of election year and lots of activities. As you audience must have seen, the last 2 weeks, the Democratic Convention as well as the Republican Convention. The Democrats, certainly you can see that in the convention they tried to unite their party, although it was very sort of a difficult situation there. And the Republican Party apparently has been able to rally and unite the party. Now this is all good news because in presidential election, I believe, unite the country, unite all 50 states is the most important task for a leader. Now, on the other hand, we also seen in our local elections a different situation. And I think the situation, personally, I feel is not a healthy situation. So today, we have invited guests to be on our show. The Assemblyman candidates was incumbent Assemblyman Greg Ball. Greg Ball has accepted our invitation. He's here, but his opponent, Mr. Dignan, has not responded. Therefore, we will have Greg Ball with us, and let's welcome our guest, Mr. Ball.
Pleasure to be here, Doctor.
Hey.
How are you?
Great, great,
How you been?
great. Yeah, I know you are busy, and this is, election time for you.
It's an honor to be on the show. Thank you for making the time.
Really glad that you can make it. And as I, made in my introduction, I think our local election has a different scenery, which is very, very disheartening,
sure,
to the least. So I invite you. I would like to have you to speak to our audience. Our audience generally is community, families, particularly students, kids, and so on.
Yeah.
And they are our future leaders, and then we want them to understand our democratic process, and we want them to understand, appreciate how difficult it is to serve, as a public servant. So. In your case, I know the campaign, I have evidence here, and I receive all kinds of flyers.
Sure.
And to my surprise, some are really, very negative.
Yeah.
And
from the opposition.
Yeah, that's definitely from
Right.
the opposition. So I'm not going to show this one by one or anything, but I just say, if you have anything that you would like to tell us.
Well, I got to tell you, and to those kids out there and young leaders, I'm a young guy too. Mm-hmm. And my parents raised me to believe in the American dream, to believe that you can accomplish and achieve anything that you set your mind to in this country, but also that there's something called personal integrity in the sense that when you shake somebody's hand or you commit to something or you tell somebody you're going to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning or you're going to do the job, that you do it, that you follow through it, and you do it to the best of your ability. Mm-hmm. And when I told the people of this district 2 years ago that I just wouldn't be another lackadaisical state assemblyman, that I was going to go to Albany and I was going to fight, really fight for the people in this district and stand up to the powerful. And I've done that. Mm-hmm. But I've stood up to Sheldon Silver, who I believe is an entirely despicable man in the New York State Legislature. And Doc, I wish I could tell you right now that as a Republican, I wish I could tell you that Albany is dysfunctional because it's controlled by Democrats. It's not the case. Albany is dysfunctional because too much power is in the hands of too few people. So in my legislative body, Sheldon Silver is the 800-pound gorilla in the room. And I step on that man's toes every day, and I do it with a smile on my face.
This is interesting because the Republican convention showed us the vice president nominee, this Sarah Palin,
she's great. Yeah.
One example to show that this party needs people to shake up, some of the sort of oligarchs.
Yeah, and at the state level, you're looking right now in front of you is the only Republican in the state who. So I've stood up to Sheldon Silver. I stood up to. I'm hitting your freshly cut flowers that you picked in your garden this morning.
That's okay. Season is still here. We got plenty of them.
But and I stood up to Spitzer on the driver's license proposal. But I'm also the only Republican in the state to stand up and ask Joe Bruno, a fellow Republican, to step down because he's corrupt to the core as well. A lot of people say that I was courageous to do that. I happen to have a different perspective, that I'm maybe the only Republican dumb enough to stand up to a powerful man like that. But that's what I told the people of this district I would do. And we need more rank and file members in the New York State legislature on both sides of the aisle who are willing to stand up to the powerful. And we have too many rank and file members that sit in their chair like zombies and push a green or a red button according to what they're told to do by their leadership. It's great to see Paulin and the energy that she brings to the Republican Party. And if you look at our Republican Party, we have become more and more the party of the corporate interests. And whether it be the immigration issue or the tax issues, we're not fighting for that blue-collar worker like we should. I'm a blue-collar Republican. I vote with the Democrats sometimes, I vote many times, but I always vote with my heart. And I always vote for the blue-collar folks like my family who are simply having a very tough time in New York making ends meet.
So locally, though, I think people certainly are concerned with the economy and the tax situation. Those
Taxes.
are the primary issues,
Yeah.
right? You have been doing something, and I think Albany is also onto these topics.
Right.
So why is that this election that people do not talk about sort of positive issues rather than attacking each other?
Well, because this election, this particular election waged against me, is not about from the opposition. It's not about the community. This is what's sad. It's about destroying me. I have an opponent who is merely a sock puppet, an angry one at that, for some very well-connected and wealthy people. And they have shifted nearly a $500,000 in what is now the most expensive smear campaign the Hudson Valley has ever seen to distort my record, destroy me politically, and eviscerate me personally, including attacking my family. If you notice the mailers that are coming out against me, the TV commercials and the radio commercials, they never mention an issue. They don't talk about taxes. They don't talk about the STAR program. They don't talk about illegal immigration. They don't talk about what my opponent's platform is on any of those issues. All they do is talk about how I'm a bad person. And my opponent's running on the I Hate Greg Ball platform, the I Hate Greg Ball party. And meanwhile, we have 2 million New Yorkers who have left this state. We have thousands of New Yorkers living in my district who are going to have a hard time making it through this winter. We have seniors who the STAR program has been underfunded this year in a budget that I voted against because I knew that the seniors were going to be hurt.
But I really question whether these kind of negative campaign really works, particularly in our area. First of all, I believe in our community, people are generally fairly well educated and not, in the sense that is totally ignorant about issues and what's going on. And by not mentioning issues or addressing the issues, by simply smearing a particular name, I think it's going to backfire, and that name is going to be recognized and heard a lot more times. Everybody now know who Greg Ball is.
Yeah, it's tough to walk into a Starbucks now without getting pointed out like as some sort of oddity.
So that isn't bad for you. I mean, everybody has your name recognition.
Doc, I got to tell you, it negative does work. And if you throw enough mud at a wall, if you throw enough ham slices at a wall, one of them will stick. And that's what they're doing right now. The mailers and the TV commercials that they have on are a perfect example. They suggest I voted against seniors. They say that I voted against veterans. They say that I voted against puppy dogs and rainbows and sunny days. And it's a lie. Yeah. The truth is that the New York State budget, I promised people in this district that I'd fight against tax increases. My parents have sold their home to avoid future school tax increases. I take it very, very personal. So I voted against the New York State budget, which happened to be the largest budget in New York State history, and also had $1 billion in new taxes, and it underfunded the STAR program.
Right.
So I voted against that $132 billion plus or minus, according to who you're looking at, who you're talking to, boondoggle. And now they pick and choose what was in that budget and say he voted against this, he voted. That is the worst form of politics.
Certainly is just trying to hogwash. But one thing I watched, in fact, during the convention, this CNN channel, that these ads come on, show Greg Ball. I said, oh, wow, somebody is really spending a lot of bucks to get on that. And one of them says, Greg Ball vote at Albany a $2.6 billion tax increase.
Sure.
Can you explain that one?
Yeah, what we did in Albany, we had a bill, which was the circuit breaker bill. Now, I'm a large proponent of comprehensive school tax reform. My school tax reform bill, and you're familiar with this, is a property tax cap of 2.5%. It also includes elimination of all unfunded mandates. And I've now included in that proposal a circuit breaker proposal to help those who have an adjusted gross income that are really the hardest hit, our seniors, the working middle class, our working families, people that are having a hard time making it through, that we have a circuit breaker that gives them immediate tax relief to try to keep them in their homes. So my proposal is a comprehensive bill that has all of those. It's called a three-legged stool. It has all of those proposals in it. Now, when we went back to Albany just a few weeks ago, we were given the opportunity to vote on the circuit breaker proposal. The Senate passed our property tax cap, but Sheldon Silver, being who he is, didn't bring the property tax cap bill to the floor. He brought the circuit breaker to the floor. Now, that circuit breaker will provide tax relief to over 90% of the people in my district. It also included a millionaire's tax. Now, I'm generally against all tax increases, but this affected 127 people in my district who happen to be millionaires who make a gross income of $1 million or more every year. It's about 120, 130 people in my district. So I had a tough decision to make, whether I would vote to provide tax relief to over 90% of the people in my district, over 100,000 people, while taxing 120 people, or vote against it to help the millionaires, but not giving tax relief to 100,000 people. Of course, being a blue-collar Republican and caring about the people in my district, I voted for that tax cut, which will help many seniors, thousands of working families, but yes, was a tax increase.
So the $2.6 billion, how does that number comes about as an increase?
It's statewide for all the millionaires.
So it's a statewide.
And if it were up to me, which it isn't, because I'm one member of 150, and Sheldon Silver is the 800-pound gorilla in the room, I would not have had that tax increase in that proposal. There was no need for that to be in there. But if faced with a tough decision to either protect 120 millionaires in my district or to protect the 100,000 people that live in my district, I'm going to vote for the 100,000
this kind of a tactic, really, I think it's something that I personally think it's very low.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
And when I have given up my entire life. I mean, 2 years ago I promised to be a full-time assemblyman. I have given my blood, sweat, and tears to the people of this district. And I have worked literally 14 hours a day if I'm taking a break, 16, 18 hours a day normally, 7 days a week. I fought for the people in this district. And now they're spending nearly $500,000 in what I believe are illegal transfers. $100,000 from a sitting state senator, $250,000 from a top New York City pro-gay marriage Democrat. My opponent has raised about $6,000 from the community and was transferred $350,000 in total.
Doesn't the campaign reform sort of a law that has something to prevent this kind of situation?
You know, it's very unfortunate, and this is why New York State is so dysfunctional. You literally have the foxes guarding the hen house. I mean, this is bad stuff, and there are no teeth in the campaign finance laws. If people make an illegal, what is called an illegal attempt to fudge the donation, all you have to do is file it once it's uncovered that you broke the law, make an adjusted filing, and you're good to go. So they make these $100,000, $250,000 transfers with impunity, and they're getting away with it. And meanwhile, they're spending this money. This is New York City money. This is money from the Albany insiders.
That sounds like a reform we got to, bring it to the Albany.
Absolutely. And I've been standing up on the floor of the Assembly for these reforms. But because I've been fighting so hard, now I have a target on my back the size of Texas. Right. And I view this campaign as a badge of honor. I view this illegal money they're spending against me as a badge of honor because it's a measure of how effective I am. They say, well, Greg Ball's ineffective. They're sure as hell spending a lot of money if I'm ineffective.
Another issue I also heard on the TV and so on is that you are a veteran. How can they say you are voting against the interests of the veterans?
Right. Yeah, it's very upsetting. That goes
yeah.
back to the discussion we just had. Of course, in the $130 billion, $132 billion budget that I voted against, there were programs in there that supported the veterans. One of them was my bill to provide tuition reimbursement to combat veterans at $2 million. Well, that was in the budget. So when I voted against the budget, I voted against my own program. But the budget also had $200 million in earmarks. It had $1 billion in new taxes. It didn't fund the STAR program properly. And it was the largest increase in state spending in New York State history.
It's unfortunately that the assemblyman or individual legislator doesn't have line veto power.
Right, you don't. And it's unfortunate that we don't. But they're just trying to play a little game now. And this is why a lot of assemblymen and senators don't have the courage to stand up and vote against a budget.
Right.
Because they know when they show the courage to vote down a fiscally irresponsible budget, they know in the next election they're going to be attacked.
Right.
You know what? I said to hell with it. I'm going to do the right thing for the people in this district. Right. And if they attack me and they try to destroy my name, that's fine. But I still have my integrity, and I can wake up and I can look in the mirror every day and know that at least for 2 years, I fought as hard as I could for the people in this district.
Well, we're glad to see that, and I'm really happy that you can make time to come onto our show.
Pleasure to be here.
And I think any media, any opportunity is your chance to tell the people what you have done and make things right. And we'd be happy to offer this kind of opportunity to any candidate, any political officers to make their statements. So today, I know you're busy, you have other engagement to go to, so we may not be able to do a full extended length of interview, but I hope that you come back.
Absolutely.
Okay? And from now till November, there's still time, and perhaps we'll do another one. Okay?
And I got to play that game.
That's right.
Scramble, right?
Oh yes, you got to play our Scramble, and after you leave, we probably talk about our Scramble.
Okay.
We now have many games now, and plus we now develop certain games to help people build the vocabulary skill to play Scrabble, which is a nationally known game.
Right.
There's a national tournament every year. Okay, we want to build from the young, from the intermediate school all the way to middle school and so on, so they can develop the skills. So, it's really a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Okay, and drive slowly. I know you're going to be rushed away.
I'm going to try to fly.
We'll try to schedule something to welcome you back, and anybody else. And certainly, I want to speak to the audience, and we welcome anybody to our show, particularly if opponent of Greg Ball wants to make a statement, we certainly welcome. And this is a public channel, and the purpose is for people to gain knowledge so that we know what's going on. So thank you for watching, and stay tuned. We'll be back to our games.